Welcome back, everybody, to the Water Player Concussion sub series. Again, yet another special guest. Today, we have Nishanjit Arora, ex BCCI media manager and ICC digital producer for the last two events ICC hosted. Very thrilled to have him. We've got Sanjay, who is going to be the concussion sub alongside me today. Thanks very much, Sanjay, for joining in. Nishant, welcome to the show. Very excited to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here, and I hope I can in the next 30 to 35 minutes I can give you a few stories, which few stories and few experiences of mine that can make you feel that how beautiful this game is and why we all love it so much.
That's excellent. Thank you. So why don't we start with that? So demystify us a couple of things. One, your association with cricket. Of course, you are based out of Canada now, but when did cricket start? How did you become a media person and then BCCI media? So demystify that role for us, please.
Uh, I used to play cricket. I like any other uh, kid in India. It goes without saying. In my days, it was only cricket. Now things have changed. Now, like if you go to urban India, the complexes where people live have more squash courts and tennis courts than cricket pitches. So now you see in a bigger cities, people are selling more squash rackets and swimming trunks than the cricket bats. But in my days, it was only cricket and cricket. So I used to play cricket and I was reasonably okay at it at that level, in the gully level. So then I started taking it a little seriously. Went to Punjab, played my most of my cricket there, and that's the time I met two youngsters. And I still very well remember that's the first time I realized that how God is not God doesn't do justice to us. That's the first time I realized. I saw two boys and I came back to my mom and I said, I don't know whether I will do what I will do in this game, but I have seen two kids. They're 15-year-old and they will play for India. And the name of those kids were Harbhajan Singh and Yuvraj Singh. So those two were my buddies of that time, and I could, God had given me that sense that very soon I realized that my entire body's talent could fit in Yuvraj's toe. So I thought that I should observe the game rather than getting observed because that would not be a nice sight. And then I used to be very close to Mr. Bishan Singh Bedi because I used to attend his camps and all that. And that's where I think I realized that he was sort of a karampita to me. Like you have someone who guides you that what you do in life. So he was that kind of a mentor to me. So he used to see that I used to read a lot of books. He has like a probably one of the best collections of cricket books in the world. So he's a cricket nostalgic. He lives in that world. Uh, so I have yet to meet a man who's so much in love with the game. So that's Bishan Bedi for you. So I used to collect books from him and give it back to him. So he saw that none of his trainees do that. So he said, Deshant, why don't you try journalism? I think you will be good at it because you read so much. That's where my journalism journey started way back in 2000. I started with this newspaper called Asian Age, and but that was the time when TV was sort of starting to take uh, a different turn in India. The wings were coming out of the body of TV and it was about to fly. And that was time Aaj Tak was starting with their 24 into 7 news channel, from a half an hour daily episode on DD to becoming a news channel on their own. So they hired me as a cricket reporter. That was the first time not even a sports reporter, a cricket reporter term was used. That I will only cover cricket because I still remember one of the producers when he was asked that why he's not a sports journalist, why he's a cricket reporter. They said in India, cricket sport is cricket. So why we want to confuse it? Let's keep it cricket. Other guys will do what they want to do. Let him be a cricket reporter. I want certain amount of specialization with this. That's where I started. An outstanding journey. Uh, Covered World Cups, Test matches, cricket series across the world. Cricket was my reason to go to my native land, Pakistan, because that's where my ancestors came from. It gave me a chance to go to my village actually. I was the first kid who, after the partition, when my grandfather left and my entire family came to India. So in 2006, after the partition of 49 years after the partition, I was the first member of the family who could go back to his roots, see the house, see the village where we lived, everything. And that day I realized why CLR James said that what they know of cricket, who know cricket only. And why, when it is said that India Pakistan is more than just a game, that is the day I realized that why it's just more than a game. Because in 2004, largely because of cricket, after 47, 1947, the biggest cross border transfer of people happened, people of migration of people happened. For a short while people went, like, that was the first time so many people after partition crossed the border. And trust me, out of that, 80% had nothing to do with cricket. All they were there was to see their native land, meet their uncle, but they bought tickets because that gave them a reason to get the visa. Not many of them used to come and see Multan, Viren Sehwag hitting those 300. If you ask them, they will say, "Oh, I was not there. I was in market. I was doing this. I was doing that." So stadium was still empty when he was hitting those sixes. So from there, in 2011, I was obviously always in touch with my friends. I had few very good friends, and Yuvraj was one of them. So that is the time I realized that journalism is not what I thought it will be. I was the early ones who left this profession, like who could see where it is going. So I give that I give at least that credit to myself a lot. And then I joined Yuvraj as his brand manager. His Like, I used to handle everything for him at that point. And we started cricket academies, Yuvraj Singh Center of Excellence, doing excellent. I think he was the first cricketer to start a cricket academy in India, like a playing cricketer. Then we started his cancer charity when he was dealing with cancer in Indianapolis. I was with him at that time. I stayed with him. There was time when only three people were there: me, his mom, and UV, all three of us. So I saw that journey, his struggle up close and personally. And fortunately, I covered the 2011 World Cup. So I saw what he was going through in that World Cup, without knowing that what's happening in his body, and he could have died any day while he was pushing his body to do what he did. When I look back at it, it's scary, but it's outstanding. It's an outstanding story. I wrote his book with one of my very, very dear colleagues, Sharda Ugra, the Test of My Life. I hope you guys have read it, and if not, you must read, because of simply the way UV just poured his heart out. And then we did a documentary on him, which was televised on Colors, again about his, because we wanted people to understand that there's life after cancer. Until then, in India, cancer was a death sentence. But I think UV was the first guy in India who told people that there's life after cancer. Otherwise, it was Rajesh Khanna in Anand dying of cancer, and that's what people thought cancer is. So huge credit to that story, huge credit to the man. We are just storytellers, and we did what we do. Around 2014, 15, I got in this opportunity where Mr. Anurag Thakur, because I knew him and he wanted me to come and join BCCI. And I joined BCCI in 2015. A great, like the biggest moment of my life. Like, when I used to play cricket, I used to think that one day I will wear India colors. But in some capacity, I got the honor of wearing them. I still cherish them the most. The most amazing days of my life. Seeing some of the greats of the game. At that time, Virat Kohli was a greater making, but I saw that making. I saw why he is special. I saw what Ajinkya Rahane could do in Melbourne. I know why he can do that because I have seen that. So those kind of great stories. And then in 2017, I had to move to Canada because of family reasons like everyone has different priorities at different stage of life. So that's, and I still have my connection with the game. Last year, I was the digital producer with the ICC. What an outstanding 2 months of my life. I was in England covering World Cup and doing shows for the ICC. Uh, Outstanding, like beautiful, amazing tournament, amazing. I still feel that 2019 World Cup, in terms of the quality of cricket, was the best World Cup. So this is a little story of mine.
Excellent. It's a great story. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. So let's spend some time talking about Yuvraj Singh. He's absolute role model for all of us. Everybody knows how he bursted into the scene with Kenya Champions Trophy. Everybody knows Stuart Broad, six sixes, 2007 Cricket World Cup, 2011 World Cup. So give us some insights about what is Yuvraj Singh as a person? What motivates him to be so driven and do well for the country? Of course, playing for the country is given, but what is in the making? Because you said you saw him on the street. So talk to us about what we don't know about Yuvraj.
Um, I think sometimes body language could be, it's not right to judge people with their body language. And Yuvraj Singh is one of those guys. Like when you see him walking, sitting, you realize that this guy doesn't want to do anything. All he wants to do is just sit and have good time, relax. But he is one of those most outstanding human beings in terms of how, when you are given a purpose and when you are given a project in life, how you go out and achieve it. So I don't know what, when and where that flip happens, but it's like outstanding. He's one of those rare guys who was actually like Andre Agassi. If you read Andre Agassi's story, he was forced into tennis. So Yuvraj Singh is also one of those kids who was forced into cricket because his father was a cricketer and his father could not achieve he wanted to achieve. So he forced his son into cricket, and that's where Yuvraj Singh, he may have lost his childhood pursuing the dream of his father, but he also somewhere along the line discovered the purpose of his own life. And the Yuvraj Singh you see today, as I told you, like I saw him as a 14-year-old kid when we used to bat together, and I used to think that how when I hit it doesn't, cross 30 yards, and how he hits, it's like Ravi Shastri said, it's a bullet. It's like a bullet. It goes to the boundary. He used to hit sixes at that time, which were unimaginable, unimaginable. Sometimes we used to blame on his bat. Sometimes we used to blame on his diet. Sometimes we used to blame uh, on the kind of opportunities he's get. But no, it was all him, sheer class. And obviously the amount of hard work he did with his father was outstanding. I still remember they had a very nice in their house in Chandigarh in Sector 10. They had a very nice lawn, big lawn, backyard lawn. And one day his father realized that for for UV to succeed at that level, he needs to be very good at playing fast bowling. One fine day, his father comes, destroys the entire lawn, puts marble marble flooring on it, and put lights, and gets grills it so that the ball doesn't like you have those golf range drives, so you driving range, so he just like covers it nicely, and then started Yuvraj's 10 o'clock session with his dad with a hard plastic ball. Like hard means really hard plastic ball, where he used to bat like for hours, and his father used to keep throwing bouncers at him, and he used to hook and pull and cut, because his father believed that at international level, and at that point, succeeding at international level will all be about how you play fast bowlers. So when you saw UV hitting Brett Lee in the first game against Australia in Kenya for those massive, pull shots, and you said, wow, how can an Indian young boy play these shots so easily? But that was what he did in those back lawns, converted into cricket pitch way back in like 5 years before he busted into the scene. So an outstanding, amazing guy, extremely focused, uh, very down to earth, very down to earth. You need to know your Singh to know the person. And I think with the book and the documentary, what we tried to do was we tried to create a touch and feel scenario with him. So I think why Yuvraj is loved so much in the world is because a lot of people find him like him. They find, they see a person and they know that we can touch him. We know him. We know him as a person. What he likes, what he doesn't like. because his life is so open in public. Like for example, there's another cricket star, MS Dhoni. We all love MS Dhoni, but how much we want to know about him, what he is as a person, there's still a mystery around MS Dhoni. But with Yuvraj, that mystery is not there. It's like what you see is what you get. So amazing, amazing personality.
Fascinating.
Great story, Nishant, on that. Kenya, I still remember that on drive when Yuvraj hit that down the ground. Was it McGraw or Bradley, as you mentioned? And for a left-hander to have that kind of elegance in his first innings, that was just amazing. Do you think he should have played maybe more Test cricket? Because generally the greats of the game, obviously in limited overs, he was second to none. But maybe he didn't get enough opportunities in Test cricket.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Sometimes when you are playing cricket, like for classic example is that Rajendra Goyal or Padmala Shivalkar would have been as great a spinner as Bishan Singh Bedi. But unfortunately, their career ran parallel to Bishan Singh Bedi. And Bishan Singh Bedi was an established spinner, a better spinner. Or for example, Parthiv Patel would have easily ended up playing 100 test matches for India. But unfortunately, he played at the time when the great Dhoni was there. It's not Dhoni's fault. It's not Parthiv Patel's fault, but that's how the fortunes are written. So when Yuvraj was playing cricket, his place in the test cricket, I still remember every time he used to get an opportunity, it was because someone has got injured, someone is not available. And that, I'm sure, even if you agree or not, brings so much pressure on you that you are filling up for someone. And that's your only opening. That's your only opportunity. Whether you make the most of it or not, you will again be judged by, oh, we had to make Rahul Dravid sit for him. That kind of thing. It's really unfortunate that when Yuvraj was, I think Yuvraj played 39 or 40 test matches for India. But if you look at his career, I personally feel that yes, if he had been given a longer run and he had no pressure of that every innings he has been given with great adjustments, or it has come by the circumstances, and he has not got it. It has been created for him, or it has come like because of someone's injury. I think things could have been different. I think he could have easily played 100 test matches for India if he was like, just imagine Yuvraj Singh started playing test cricket or was born 10 years late, just like Virat Kohli. And in 2011-12, when you know that these greats are now going and you have this place to secure now, things could have been different, very, very different.
Yeah, you would get a longer rope as well, right? Like now, Kohli got a longer rope, failing in England and then scoring those runs in Australia. Could have been different.
Even if you look Ajinkya Rahane, even if you look Cheteshwar Pujara, Kohli, I will always say, is not an example to quote when you're comparing one cricketer with another. Kohli is a genius. Kohli would have survived any generation, any place, any time. And yes, he got his opportunities. And if Yuvraj had got opportunities like him, maybe things could have been different. But at the same time, I feel that, sometimes we harp a lot on what we didn't achieve. We should also see what he has achieved. Like, how many cricketers can raise their hand and say that I have won India on an under 19 World Cup, I have won India an under World T20, and I have won India the World Cup. So
Yuvraj Singh can.
Yeah. So I would rather concentrate on those things.
Absolutely. We could talk about him for an entire day, I think.
Yes.
Should go on to something else, Suman.
Yeah. So press conferences, being a media manager. So is Dhoni better at taking press conferences or Rohit Sharma? Because both of them have their style. Who according to you is best?
Rohit, Rohit and MS Dhoni, the difference between MS Dhoni and Rohit is that Rohit is naturally funny. He's naturally a very, very funny guy. So, but MS Dhoni doesn't do anything that he doesn't know. He knows what he's doing. He exactly knows with his experience, and that's his genius. Like he knows the kind of questions that could be asked today, and in his mind, I think he is more or less sure. He knows what balls to leave, and he knows what balls to play, and he also knows what balls can be hit for sixes. So with MS Dhoni, if you give something in his zone, even in a press conference, he'll hit you for a six. Rohit will be Rohit. Rohit will be, he will hit some, he will miss some. So he is, and I when I joined BCCI and we started a lot of these social media activities, I realized that one player to whom these things like doing interviews or the kind of social media stuff you want from your players, Rohit is naturally made for it. He can like pull it off without any issues. Maybe it's because of Mumbai, so a certain amount of that skill in front of camera comes naturally to him. Like I say, all the Punjabis are natural singers because Punjab is very rich. Punjabi music, everyone can sing in Punjab. So I say, and that maybe that the certain amount of acting skills or certain amount of skills in front of camera come naturally to Rohit because he's from Bombay. That's in the water.
Good, excellent. And your experiences with Rahul Dravid, have you shared dressing room with him in terms of being part of BCCI or being a media person?
I have not spent time with Dravid when I was with BCCI, but I have uh, a great relationship with Rahul Dravid. As a journalist, when I was covering cricket, I was lucky that when I was covering cricket, I saw, my team will always be the teams of 2000s. With great regret, I can, I'm sure, no, I'm sure a lot of people will not like what I'm saying. For me, that the team which I loved the most, and I would still love to see that team playing again and again, was the team of 2000s. The likes of Dravids and Sachins and Gangulis and Srinaths and Kumble's, even Wasim Jafars and S. Ramesh, all these kind of cricketers. So that was my team. So at that time the access to the team was far better. If the players trusted you, they allowed you in their inner circle. And Rahul was someone who always wanted to go beyond the game. So he always used to look out for people who could talk different things. And I was lucky that he always considered that I can have that conversation with him. So we often used to go out for dinners and generally chat about books, generally chat about anything like how is Northern India. He's a product of thought. So thought attracts him. So anyone who has anything to share, he loves to have those conversations, which are just not about cricket, which are about anything, like anything that can fulfill his desire to know more about the life and the world we live in. And an absolutely outstanding role model. Like I still my favorite Rahul Dravid story comes from Rawalpindi when he got that 274. So on the first day, India had lost the first wicket in a first over, and Rahul Dravid had to walk into bat. Sehwag was out, I think. I remember, yeah. Parthiv and Sehwag opened, and Sehwag was out. So Dravid had to open, and in that evening, some of journalists were having food. So Rahul Dravid came down in the same hotel, and he just generally chatted for a while, and then he said, "I have to go and sleep because I have to bat whole day tomorrow." Who says that? Like, I mean, who says that I have to bat whole day tomorrow? He said to one of the journalists that I have to bat. And like we were laughing, like, how can you say that? You just need one ball to get out. And next day, he was not out at 176. And he picked that journalist and he laughed at me. He said, "Oh, you are making fun of me that I have to bowl whole day tomorrow."
Great.
And the story and the fact of the matter is that next day he got out at 271 or 274, something like that, trying to accelerate the run rate. And can you believe Rahul Dravid got out playing a reverse sweep to Imran Farhat?
Wow.
And after getting out at 271, I still remember he's walking out and he's not happy that he has got 271. He's trying to like do a shadow practice of how that reverse sweep should have played so that it was executed well. So he was still angry at why he could not. But that's Rahul Dravid for you. Like that story sums him up. Like every time he batted for India, he always thought that he has to bat whole day for India.
It's a great story, Nishant. Just on the point of having access to the players, I remember, just a small personal story. 2011, I was in Birmingham, right outside the hotel room where the Indian team was staying during the England series, and I saw Rahul Dravid walking in his slippers. And then he met Sharda Ogra, having a chat with her for like 10 minutes and just walking off. And literally, so I thought, maybe has the times completely changed now? Like no one's got access to players at all. It has to be only through the media managers, and maybe that's the reason players are more misunderstood now. Is that something which you have any opinion on?
I think it has worked two ways. One way of looking at it is that uh, players, because there is so much media there that it's impossible for players to, be that accessible. And what happens is that if they are accessible to one, that I didn't realize till the time I became the media manager, that if you become accessible to one, you are immediately blamed that you're not accessible to the other. So players these are different times. We need to understand what is media today. Even you are a media today. Like if tomorrow you have 100,000 followers, you can claim that, oh, we need a seat in the press box, we need to interview this and this player. At least you can demand that. Whether you get it or not is something different, but we have our own community which follows us, and the role of the media is to take the news to the people who follow it. That's what CNN does, that's what BBC does on a larger level. So it has become that, and at the same time I think somewhere that access has must have been misused also. So like there was a time when I called it a Saas Bahu time of Indian media, where we concentrated doing more stories on who is eating breakfast with whom, who is going out with whom, which player is dating which girl, rather than concentrating on their game and not thinking too much about what's happening. So that's the time I think that trust vanished. But I still feel that players still have certain amount of respect for certain players, certain journalists who they have seen covering cricket for years, who have seen they have, like, these are the people who are always there helping us, supporting us. Like Virat Kohli will remember who was there when he got 100 at DDCA playing against Haryana, uh, when no one was there and that journalist was there and watched him get that 100, or when he get that 100 against I don't remember which team, when his father died, who wrote the story next day. He will remember that guy. And he will always have respect for that guy, because that guy is not, a lot of these journalists also now these days, what the problem is that when young kids come into journalism now, they straight away want to go to London and cover the test match. They don't want to go to Ludhiana, they don't want to go to Gwalior, they don't want to go to like someone like Sharda Ogra or a Vijay Lokpalli or a R Kaushik would have done years and years. Go and ask Vijay Lokpalli what gives him the most amount of joy. Not covering cricket at MCG. The joy he gets by covering a game at a Karnail Singh Stadium in Paharganj by the railway station, where railway plays most of their games, in a on a on a sunny December Sunday afternoon, eating moongfali and watching a Sanjay Bangar and Yere God playing on that really awfully slow wicket against Karnataka or Punjab. That joy of watching the game, sitting on the ground anywhere you want, wherever the sun is, you just go and sit there. There is no press box, so you keep moving into the ground wherever the sun is, so that you get a lot of sunshine because it's cold. And then the kind of you see, that's where you see players like in a real you see the reality of a player. I still remember Sanjay Bangar was playing for India in 2004, and then he like his stint finished, and he had to move from Hotel Taj, where the Indian team was staying, to Karnail Singh dormitory.
Wow.
in a span of a night. Like he finished that thing, and next day he had to report for a Ranji Trophy game. So I still remember he's told me that चलो निशांत आज चेकआउट करना है होटल ताज से होटल खाज में चलते हैं अब. So that joy I don't see. I feel bad for these kids because they don't get to see those stories. Like we saw so much of that it was my daily routine when I was in Aaj Tak, because Aaj Tak's office was next to Paharganj, was going to Karnail Singh Stadium and doing nothing. Like going to Rishi Dhaba and have food with Yere God, Kulamani Parida, have omelette with them on the street. That's where you know the real cricketer. So somewhere we don't know the real cricketer behind them. Those stories are far and few.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating stories. Love it. It's great. So let's shift gears to the current talent a little bit. Shubman Gill. Can he, again, I'm not comparing. I'm not.
Sorry, who's the guy who's talking about?
Shubman Gill.
Shubman Gill.
Yeah. So do you think he can be drawing parallels with Rahul Dravid at some point in time? Whether technique, whether playing long innings, whether mental approach?
I will not put him in a Rahul Dravid category. I think he's more in the category of, I would say, Lakshman's or I think Cheteshwar Pujara is a Rahul Dravid category. To an extent, Ajinkya Rahane is a Rahul Dravid category. Shubman Gill, even if you look at his last 2 innings, his strike rate is around 80.
Yeah.
So that's not Rahul Dravid category.
Good point.
Yeah, that's he's more of a Virat Kohli. He's more of a VVS Lakshman. He's more of a stroke player. And I don't know whether you have seen my few tweets on him, but I still remember it was 2014 or 15 because I am from Punjab. And this kid used to play for Mohali district. And every time, like the moment he started playing for Mohali district, he used to get big runs there. So in a short span of 6 months, he started playing for under 14 for Mohali districts, and in 6 months he was playing for Punjab in under 16s and under 19s, which is like very, very, very rare. So I had heard stories about him because Chandigarh cricket gossip comes back to us, like Mumbai Maidan gossip, cricket. Every city has their culture of cricket. So I was in Dharamshala, and at that time I had joined BCCI. So there was this camp going on, and I was there, that Zonal Cricket Academy camp. So one of the coaches over there, I asked him, I said, who is this kid Shubman Gill? I have heard few things about him. So he said, come with me, he's batting in the nets. So I went to the nets and I saw him for the first time. And in nets, like every cricketer is a cricketer, like it's a very routine thing, but you could make out that there is something special about him. There's a spark. So I looked at the coach and he says, if all goes well, this guy should play Test cricket for India. And I tweeted about that because Siddharth Vaidyanathan the other day tweeted about how Indian cricket setup ensures that someone like Mohammad Siraj plays for India. So I said it also ensures that someone like Shubman Gill, who everyone thinks is good, system makes sure that he reaches where he belongs.
Meets the potential.
Yeah. So I personally feel like, everyone can have talent. Like there are a lot of people who would have the talent of Sachin Tendulkar. But talent takes you this far. And then a lot of other things take over. Things like how you handle your fame, how you handle your money, how you handle the pressures. First year for any talented cricketer is a bliss. That's the honeymoon period. That's the time. Now in the first game, the likes of Justin Langer and everyone, the video analyst of every teams would have got first, and also IPL, but Test cricket is a different ball game. So they would have got the few footages of Shubman Gill. They will get more. The next year they will find, okay, if we do this, we can get him. So that's a constant battle. Like, they are trying to find how to get you out, and you are trying to find out how to score runs. And that will keep happening. And in that, and mixed with that will be all these other external factors, which are, some of them are under your control, some of them are not. How you can be level headed, how you are, how sound and strong your mind is. So by the looks of it, I think he's a son of a farmer, and he's very rooted. I know a bit about his family as well. So I don't see any reason why he should not do well. I still remember, and it's a great thing to say here. When Anil Kumble retired in Nagpur, there was a function where Sachin Tendulkar and Anil Kumble were felicitated. So Anil Kumble stood up and gave a speech, and he said that you have two kind of cricketers. One are the one who keep proving people wrong all the time, and the others are the one who keep proving people right. My journey was all about proving people wrong. Oh, he can't spin the ball. Oh, he can't bowl in these conditions. Oh, he can't bowl in that condition. So after the shoulder injury, he will not be the same bowler. And where he ended up taking 600 wickets for India. Sachin Tendulkar, first day someone saw and said, oh wow, this guy is special. He should play Ranji Trophy for very soon. Oh wow, this guy is special. You should be playing India. Oh wow, this guy is special. He will go and break the record of Sunil Gavaskar. Oh wow, this guy is special. He will play 200 test matches for India. So all his life, Sachin kept proving us right. We kept expecting from him, and he, like a good Santa, kept giving us, kept ticking those boxes. Okay, okay, you want this? Done. You want this? Done. Anil Kumble, every time we saw this cannot happen. And he said, no, this can also happen. Like with that much turn, he conquered the world. I think Shubman Gill falls in that second category where his life will be proving people right. This guy can play for India. He has. Okay, this guy will be one of the bench strengths of one of the backbone of Indian team for the next 5 years. Can he do that? Still to be seen. So let's see where this journey goes. But I personally feel that he has all the attributes to be a great player. Whether that happens or not will depend on a lot of other things. But I think it will happen because I think everyone knows he's special. And now the good thing about Indian cricket setup is that you have people like Rahul Dravid, Virat Kohli around you. So the moment they see something going little here and there with youngsters, they make sure that that part is sorted.
Excellent insights.
Amazing.
I think that's perfectly put for Shubman Gill. The platform is there, talent is there. Now just go express yourself and prove people right. Why? Yeah. Excellent. We can keep going, but sadly, we do have to keep an eye on time. Sanjay, any last questions before?
No, I think we could go on and on, but no, excellent. This is great, Nishant. You've been very generous with your time, so thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, and whenever you guys want, I'm more than happy to do this. I because sometimes I miss talking about cricket, and I think whoever watches, my only aim always is that people should love the game for the right reasons. And that passion should be as pure as the 11-year-old kid when you started playing game in your nukkad or your gully or in the backyard with your brother or anyone, where you asked your mom to bowl few balls to you. That passion should never dilute. So I just try to make sure that whenever I speak, I ensure that that passion is, if I can reinforce that passion. So anytime you give me an opportunity to reinforce that passion, I will always be there.
That's fantastic. And our goal of creating this channel is to talk cricket and uncover the untold stories. You've given us enough reasons to smile. And I'm sure when the episode is out, our fans will be equally as thrilled as we are, Nishant. Thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it. And I'll probably take that offer up early next year in bringing you back on the episode, because you got a lot of stories, which I'm sure our episodes will love to host you again.
And hopefully, I'll in the meantime, read up the book. I mean, it's bad on my part. I do not generally like reading. Apart from Sachin's biography, I haven't read anything. So, but I will ensure that I read that book out.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nishant. Have a great New Year's.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Same to you. Happy holidays.
Bye.